Metatrends is an exclusive collaboration with Mark and Mike, brought to you by Middle Market Journal's live shows and interviews.
Hey guys, welcome back to Meta Trends with Mark and Mike. Mike's been called out on some political business, so it's me and Stormie Andrews. So I just wanted to thank you for joining us, Stormie. The way this normally works with us is you kind of tell us what got you to where you are now. What are you seeing out in the workplace? We really have two separate audiences. One are entrepreneurs, guys like let's say Noah's age that want to own a company one day. Like, what's the wisdom that we can impart for them to grease the skids and make them more successful? Then the second half of the presentation, which we do on the Middle Market Forum, we talk specifically about Vistage members and what challenges that we're seeing from our different worlds that kind of overlap a little bit. How can we make sure that they're more successful in the endeavors that they have? So, but thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe. So, Stormy, give me a background on you, like what got you to here, and what are you up against?
Yeah. What got me here? That's actually a great question. The I back in, I won't go back to my childhood, but I'll go back to 2010 when I started a digital marketing agency. I'm here in Las Vegas, and there was a time in Las Vegas where we had the great housing collapse, and Las
Yeah.
Vegas was the center of it. And at the time, I was the vice president of sales and marketing for a private home builder, and we just couldn't withstand the storm. We were writing checks for $50, $60, $70,000 just to get out of a property, which was insane. So the owner of the company had to close the door. Started a marketing company, and I had a goal. I had a mission. How can I help small to medium-sized businesses keep their people employed? Because it was a bloodbath here in Las Vegas. And like I said, I started that in 2010. Eventually, I became a HubSpot partner. I grew that company, Yoco Local, into the largest HubSpot agency in the state of Nevada. And during that journey, it started getting difficult, right? That's where my hair started turning gray. And uh, at the time, I also served on a board at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And that's where I had met my future wife, Sean. But she introduced me to a message by a poet called A.J. Redmatari that said that, most people will go through their lives spending their health in order to generate wealth, only to return that wealth to try and regain their health. And that was a mantra that she was living by with her full service agency. And it started sticking with me, right? It was sticking with me like, man, that means a lot, because I felt myself spending my health in order to generate wealth, big time. So about 3 years ago, I had an offer to sell my agency. That took a few months to get that handled. I was able to sell the agency, and I was able to exit. And from that, my wife, Sean, the one who introduced me to the phrase, we started a brand, Breathe EXP, which stands for Breathe Experiences. And that company is really designed to help business leaders and influencers find these breathable moments. And those breathable moments, one of our products is BusinessWise 365, which is a collection of AI agents that can do marketing endeavors. And it's pretty awesome because there was a convergence of technology. I created a system called the World's Best Buyer Persona System when I had my agency, which is about creating messaging to attract your most ideal client. And when I sold my agency, I was able to retain that IP, converge that IP with the world of AI. And now I'm on this mission of delivering results without selling your health in order to generate wealth.
Yeah,
And that's part of our mission.
that makes sense. I was certainly guilty of it myself. I made a willful decision in my early stages when I was at Merrill Lynch to work my ass off to the point where I was okay with spending my health in order to get that wealth.
Yep.
So, and I don't know if it's led to some health issues for me or not. Like, because it's kind of hard to know when you don't have a control group whether something is a causal factor or not. But there was some other things here that you were uh, you were combining persona. So we had someone in on the podcast not too long ago named Abe Wagner.
Okay.
So Abe was an expert in neurolinguistic programming and something called the Cartman drama triangle.
Okay.
So it's like, now I was exposed to that in early stages in my career through Tony Robbins. And like he had changed it to neuro-linguistic conditioning. I think mainly just to not step on the toes of the trademark that might exist on neuro-linguistic programming. But I was kind of curious about that. Like, how is it that you help figure out help companies figure out what their ideal market is or their ideal target is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm also a licensed practitioner in NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And what I had discovered, right, is that oftentimes, remember, with my digital marketing agency, I work with thousands of small business owners, and their pain points were generally the same. And it was great due to the fact that we worked with these small business owners in a wide variety of industries because it was almost like a control group, right? We had this and didn't really know it at the time and turned it into something. But I've got to go back to the world of the home building industry because when I was the VP of sales and marketing of a home builder, that's when I was really introduced into the world of buyer personas. And I remember we would buy a piece of land. And I'm going to take you back to the first time I used a buyer persona in my life. We bought a piece of land and it was like, Stormie, we just bought 20 acres and we need you to go figure out what we're going to build on this property. So start building out some buyer personas, figure out the price point, what type of zoning we need to get changed and all that other stuff. So I started doing research, and this is before the internet, right? So I actually had to go to the library and get books. And then there was some
like the
internet.
Stone Age.
Yeah, it was the Stone Age, right?
Stone
Everything
Age.
wasn't instantaneous. But I did the research. I'm like, okay, I've got this figured out. And I thought this was a game changer for my knowledge base. I'm like, wow, this is pretty awesome. This is great. But what I realized was once I built a persona, which was designed to be a sales and marketing tool, after it served its purpose, it sat on a shelf and collected dust, right? It just collected dust. It didn't help my salespeople when I gave it to them because guess what? A 43-year-old that has that drives a minivan with 2.3 kids making X amount of dollars per year, that doesn't resonate. That demographics don't make decisions, people do.
Are you describing me? That's you
Yeah.
kind of described me. Not a minivan, SUV, but me almost.
SUV, absolutely. So, when we look at those types of scenarios that I realized, man, demographics don't make decisions. This doesn't help salespeople. It was great for a certain application, but it just didn't help salespeople. So what I started doing is from the early stages, I'm like, what if we can start applying NLP principles from the sales side? What if we can figure out how can the world's moving to this digital medium where we're communicating electronically versus belly to belly, and we're moving there quickly. And as I started to see that coming from a background of sales, I'm like, how can we get this digital version of us? How can we get it to communicate more effectively, right? Understanding the methodologies of effective communication, understanding the pain points, the struggles. So that's what set me on this path and this vision to create a methodology that ultimately turned into the world's best buyer persona system. And what it has done, it's turned the world of personas upside down. So from a business owner's perspective, what if we can start looking at our business from the lens of our ideal customers? Not all customers are ideal customers. What are their struggles? What are their pain points? What are their triggering events? How did they get here, right? And then if we can spend the time understanding and creating messaging that addresses that person, it does an incredible job of attracting those while repelling those that you don't want to do business with, which is very powerful, right? And if you get enough of those types of customers, it makes it very easy to say no to the wrong types of customers. Because I'll tell you what, one of the worst things that I discovered for businesses is that when times are tough and you're not, and the sales pipeline isn't strong, you start saying yes when your body tells you you should say no, and you end up with this horrible relationship that you knew was going to be bad from the beginning.
All right,
So-
Stormie, I gotta jump in here for a second, right? So picture one of the best lines I ever heard in Vistage. One of the members was talking about how he got distracted by shiny objects. That's in essence what he meant, right?
Yeah.
He'd come up with some new idea and he'd go down a rabbit hole, and then he turned to the group and he said, I don't know how to explain this, but I'm just a whore with my time. And the old wise sage in the room goes, no, whores get paid, you're a slut. Right. So holy crap. Like I don't know where you would hang that plaque, but that should be on a plaque.
Absolutely.
I have to jump in here because it's fascinating, especially when you're referring to personas and communication. My background is obviously in communication, but what I want to know is how is AI going to impact the building or the reconfiguring maybe of those personas and how can business owners use them? Because, and I know Mark has heard this a lot, so bear with me, Mark, just a couple minutes. AI has upended my industry. I'm mostly crisis communication, public relations, etc. And what we're seeing is AI has helped us do our jobs better. There's no question about it. It's an assistant. It's a rough draft, right? A preparer, I guess you could say, in certain instances. Sometimes it turns out something completely irrelevant, but regardless, it's something that is increasingly being used. How does that factor in? I mean, for better or for worse, we can accept it, we cannot, but at the end of the day, it's here, it's going to grow, it's going to continue to impact our business, it's going to impact the entire industry, whichever industry here in the United States and abroad. So how do you think that could impact all of us moving forward, or specifically your model?
So it's interesting, Michael, because you just tapped on the topic that I've been, that I think I booked for just over 60 Vistage presentations on that very topic, over 2025, right? And here's the rundown, because AI, like you said, for better or worse, and when used properly, it's absolutely for better. But let's look at the world, right? Let's look at you, and let's let you, because let me back up really quick. At one point, using AI, tools like ChatGPT were gave you an advantage in the marketplace at one point. But now today, everyone's using it. So that advantage is not necessarily an advantage anymore if you're using the tool the same way as everyone else. Does that make sense? Because everyone has that same resource.
Right. And Google was, I guess, an early iteration of this when, oh my God, I could put something into Google and it spits out information. And it was when it was still rudimentary, when folks didn't know about it, you had a leg up. But now people Google 30 times an hour.
Absolutely. Can you imagine if someone came to you and said, hey, listen, you need to hire me because I use Google? No,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so here's what I've discovered is that virtually everyone, and I never say everyone, but it's just about everyone on the planet that's using ChatGPT, they're using it the same way. And they're getting good results. And because the results are good, they roll with it. And they're not getting the best results by no stretch of the imagination, because they go to ChatGPT. Let's use the example. You're in crisis management. Hey, ChatGPT, I've got a crisis management scenario. Or business owners, hey, create me a blog post or an email, and let me kind of give you some basic rough iteration of what I want it to produce. It does a pretty good job. You make some minor tweaks and changes, and then you roll with it, right? That's the vast majority of the population, how they use the tool. However, I like to think of ChatGPT as potentially an extremely valuable employee within your organization. And if you train that employee, no understanding that most people aren't training it, you're going to get far superior results. And that's where the buyer persona comes in, because now what happens is, so on the ChatGPT store, and I'm going to back up really quick, I've got a free tool called Persona Pilot. And what Persona Pilot does is that's a free tool where it asks you, a series of questions to help you build out a persona. And then you copy and you paste that persona. So in a crisis management situation, you're kind of identifying, the crisis that's happening, what types of fears and emotions of the audience you're looking to speak to. What are those, right? Those feelings lead to what emotions, what needs need to be met on May's Law's hierarchy of needs. What was the event that triggered this? You're answering a series of questions. Then you go to ChatGPT, where it understands more about who you're trying to communicate with on an emotional level, where we can connect. Then you go to ChatGPT only after you've provided that data and that information about your ideal customer, and then you ask it to produce the content you were looking to produce, with that prompt being the same, all things being equal. One person provides the prompt of what they're looking for. The other person provides the persona and the prompt, and the results are extraordinary. What comes out on the back end is absolutely an extraordinary. And that's why we've created this tool, BusinessWise 365. It's a collection of AI agents that all start with personas. So before you ask it to build a blog post or an email, it's going to ask you, who's your persona? Which persona are we writing to? Then I'll dive into it. So this way we have the ability of connecting emotionally, because we are emotional creatures.
So you're basically saying they kind of have personalities. In other words, folks write a certain way, they blog a certain way, they have these types of conversations, and they use, I guess, for lack of a better explanation, buzzwords, so to speak. Is that also kind of built in, or is it
Kind of, but
more? Go ahead.
it's not focused on the person who's producing the content. It's focused on the person who you're looking to connect with. Because the person you're looking to connect with, they have needs that need to be met. If we start looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they have an emotional state, right, that they're looking to get resolved, whether they have action beliefs of whatever message that you're trying to deliver. It's understanding who they are, where they're at, and and as it relates to time, what situations happening with them. It's about making it it's about stop making it about us and let's make it more about them. And the more that we can turn that message around about them instead of us, it's just so much more powerful.
Well, and so let me jump in here a second. I got to respect the fact that in the first portion of this presentation, we're also talking to entrepreneurs, not just entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Right. So the next portion of it will just be on entrepreneurs. But the idea here is that I gotta think that I'm not that unusual. Like I know I'm odd and I'm weird and stuff like that, but I'm not unusual in that I'm an old dude. Mine was the last graduating class that didn't have to take typing, so I can't type. I have no idea what a semicolon is. I understand ChatGPT a little bit because Noah was nice enough to walk me through it. I think there's a massive opportunity for people who are younger that are more what we refer to as digitally native, and then helping a person who's a digital immigrant be able to operate in that digital world just a little bit better. That there's a benefit to that. And that's a business model in and of itself. Like I've got this name spin. I wonder if you agree with me here, Stormy, is like creating a business is like finding people who have challenges and then solving that challenge and then just doing it again and doing it again and doing it again and doing it again. Eventually,
Absolutely.
maybe you get the scale. Now, we had John Savanto. He's a chair out of Dallas not too long ago. And he brought up some very interesting statistics. One is it's like less than a decimal point of businesses make it past 6 million in revenue, right? And then to grow from there. So he was arguing from a perspective of maybe it makes more sense to acquire. What I'm arguing is like maybe it makes sense to build it and then you move off of that. Like the idea is you build it, maybe sell it, build it, join something else, build it, what have you. But the idea is to build it. And instead of being angry at the previous generation or maybe even being dismissive of it, that it's not up to snuff in these categories, that means there's an opportunity for you as a young person, whoever's listening, to actually create a business around getting people like me into the digital space because we struggle with that world. And I'm telling you, if you saw me yesterday, I was throwing chairs around my office just because I thought I lost a chapter in the book because I couldn't get this one digital
Yeah,
interface
you're lying.
interface
You're
with
lying.
someone else, and I'm ready
That's
to
not
flip the
why.
table over. What's that?
That's not why. That you were upset because you saw that the Jets are probably going to keep Aaron Rodgers and suck for another season.
There's a lot of love on this call. Have you noticed,
Yeah,
Stormy? Right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So
Absolutely.
like two is actually going to be a good quarterback. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not so
When,
sure he's
when
going to
we're in
be
the
a
Super Bowl,
quarterback.
I'll call you when we're in the Super Bowl.
And frankly, we are all the bridesmaids until the Bills start to suck, right? So the bridesmaid, never the bride, right? So
Absolutely.
how it goes, you know. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like you guys to join us on the middle market forum, and we're going to get into deep for the entrepreneurs here.